You ever have one of those nights where you're just driving through sheets of rain, headlights all blurred like you're underwater, and you see something summy enough that makes your heart pull sideways, even when your brain is screaming, keep moving? That was me, Grace Bennett, that night outside Maple Hollow, hands tight on the steering wheel of my ancient teal pickup, watching the rain come down so hard it sounded like marbles on the hood. I had every reason to drive Oni mean, who stops for a limping stranger on a lonely country road at night. But there he was, hunched beneath the weight of a pack, rain soaking him right through, looking like the world had chewed him up and spit him out. My daughter Mia's voice echoed in my head, "Why do people walk alone, Mama?" And even though she was at home, probably hugging her teddy and waiting for her warm milk, my heart answered for both of us, because sometimes nobody stops. Well, that night I did. I didn't ask the man's name, didn't ask what happened to him or why he was out there, just offer a ride past the old base road, some tea, and a couch. He barely looked up, face shadowed by fatigue and rain, a scar cutting down from his temple, eyes wary but not dangerous. "You all right out here?" I asked through the cracked window, my voice barely carrying over the downpour. "Not looking for trouble," he said, voice rough as gravel but steady. "Didn't say you were," I replied, opening the door, letting all that rain and a heavy silence into my truck. You know, sometimes you see a man's whole story in the way he sits, how he flinches, how he says thank you without saying thank you. His jacket was army, battered and stained, boots caked with red clay. I asked if he was from around here. He shook his head. "Trying to get to Wilton," he said. "On foot." I blurted 20 miles, no wallet, no ID, just a bottle in his bag, and pain riding shotgun. He laughed, a humorless sound, told me the VA helped him out the door. I didn't have answers, only questions I kept to myself. But sometimes you don't need answers to offer someone a little warmth and a place to dry off. That's all I had. It's all he needed. By morning, he was gone. No note, no name. Just a folded towel and get Thesa purple heart medal set next to the sink. I stared at it for the longest time, felt my hands go numb. I hadn't earned something that's sacred, not with tea and a couch, but I wrapped it gently and placed it in a drawer with Mia's crayon drawings and my mother's old coupons. I didn't even tell my best friend Nora. It felt too big, too strange, like a blessing and a dare all at once. Weeks crawled by, bills piled up, and then that day came envelope thick as a brick, Maple Hollow Credit Union threatening foreclosure. I tried everything, double shifts at the bakery, selling my mom's old jewelry, midnight cake orders, even cut off the internet before realizing Mia needed it for school. None of it was enough. People at work, they didn't notice. I was always Grace, the one who smiled, poured coffee, remembered birthdays, never asked for help, never let the cracks show. It was Nora who finally broke through, cornered me after I gave Officer Jim his coffee, without cinnamon yet. That happened, she asked, "What's going on?" And I just let it out. The stranger, the Purple Heart, the letter I found later in my mailbox, no return address, just blocky handwriting. You reminded me I still mattered. I'll find a way to repay that. Initials only. She didn't gasp, didn't judge, just said, "Well, that sucks." Most honest thing I'd heard in weeks. I didn't know what to do next, but when I passed the VFW hall and saw a hand-painted sign for a veteran's breakfast, something in me made me bake bread and show up, even when I barely had enough flour. I moved quietly, poured coffee, wiped crumbs, didn't expect to be seen. But someone saw me, a young guy, sharp eyes, military posture. "You're Grace Bennett, right?" "I serve with Logan. He sent me this," and he showed me a photo of 6 men in desert gear, one with a bandaged face and a crutch. Logan, the man from the rain, grinning alive. He said you reminded him who he used to be. That picture I pinned above my sink. It belonged there. But real life, as usual, had its own ideas. The bank called. Unless something changes dramatically, a mess. Bennett, 30 days, that's all I had left. That night, as Mia played in her unicorn bedroom, I stared at the Purple Heart, the letter, the photo, not knowing what I was waiting for. Then came a knock, right on cue, 7:03 p.m. I wiped my hands on a towel, opened the door, and there was Logan Wells, upright, clean-shaven, uniform crisp, no longer just surviving but alive. With him, Two men in uniform, two black SUVs idling out front. "Evening, Grace," he said, voice softer than before, but with a steadiness that made my throat close. He handed me an envelope. "Long overdue," he said, "but it's only the beginning." They came inside Logan. Captain Marks, Master Sergeant Alvarez sat at my kitchen table under the same flickering light that had watched so many late-night tears. Mia peeked out, clutching her bear, and Logan dropped to one knee, told her, "We're real soldiers, but we're not here on a mission. We're here to thank your mom." I nearly lost it right there. Logan told his story, the fire, the discharge, the bottle in his bag, the plan to disappear until I stopped. "You treated me like a human being," he said. Captain Marks slid me a certificate, honorary contributor to veteran resilience. Then a second document, mortgage debt forgiven, home saved. My knees buckled. Logan pressed a challenge coin in my hand engraved with "She didn't ask, she just acted." "For valor," he said. "Not in war, but in kindness. You ever cry so hard your whole body aches?" That was me, right then. But the world doesn't let you rest for long. A week later, a call from County Services' old paperwork, a decades-old lien on the land behind my house, some shady corporation trying to take my garden, my shed, Mia's sunflower patch. I called Logan. He listened, said, "I'll take care of it." 3 days later, a federal investigator dropped by the county office the lien, the company, all of it exposed as fraud. It was over, really over. I drove to the hill where my dad taught me to start a dead truck and just sobbed. Another letter showed up. "What you grow in quiet places will one day feed someone you'll never meet." Single word, semper, always. I put it in the box with the coin, the heart, Logan's first note. That land, those roots, they were safe, really safe. You'd think that'd be the end, right? But here's the twist. Peace isn't the end, it's the beginning. The Veteran Resilience Network sent me a letter, Logan's handwriting at the bottom. "Just show up. That's all you ever needed to do." They wanted me to be a community advisor. Me. Not because I'd seen war, but because I'd seen what quiet kindness could do. I showed up, I listened, I told stories about Dad, about Mia, about what it means to open your door when you have nothing left. Veterans who'd never come before started to trickle in. One old guy, Harvey, sat with me in the parking lot, cigarette trembling between his fingers. "You just showed up," he said. "We need more people like that." He flicked his ash, and I just sat with him, letting the silence do the heavy lifting. Life didn't turn dramatic after that. It turned deeper. Nora still brought wine on Fridays, cracked jokes about the town's quietest celebrity, but now she brought real stories, too. Veterans hugged me in the bakery. Strangers whispered, "You reminded my son he still mattered." I set up a sign at the farmer's market. "Free produce for any veteran, let the earth serve you now." Some took potatoes, some took nothing, but a few just stood there a while, then walked away lighter. Logan visited a couple times, never alone, always with someone new. They fixed the fence, rewired the coop, mended the gate, left without a word or a bill. One, Reggie, installed solar panels. "Sunlight helps things grow," Logan said. And I watched Mia run barefoot through the grass, laughter ringing through land we'd almost lost, and I finally understood keeping something isn't about holding on, it's about showing up again and again. And then, in the quiet of winter, a young man, Logan's cousin, came with a final letter. Logan wrote, "Kindness reveals us, sharpens us, softens the places war left ragged. You gave me permission to live again." That night, I put that letter in the box beside the heart, the coin. The note closed it gently, not as a trophy, but as a promise. Spring came. I painted a new sign in the garden. "What you grow in quiet places will one day feed someone you'll never meet." People still came, not always for tomatoes, sometimes just for the look in my eyes that said, "I see you." And on my birthday, a photo arrived, Logan at a podium in D.C. Behind him a screen. "She didn't ask, she just acted." And under it, me name. I hung it by the pantry, right where I pack meals for the next day, because some things don't need marble to be honored, they just need hands that keep giving. So if you're listening, if this story reached you, if you ever wondered whether kindness matters, whether it comes back, let this be your answer. Share it. Let it echo. Let it land in someone's heart like Grace did for Logan. And if you've ever been the one to just show up, tell me. Where did your kindness go? What do you think, does justice really come back around? Or is it up to us to keep it moving?